YouTube wants to fix its advertising problem that is not a problem at all. How to shop at Amazon with cash, and Android dethrones Windows as the most popular operating system in the world. All that and a whole lot more coming up on Tech News Today.
This is Twit. Bandwidth for Tech News Today is provided by CashFly at CACHEFLY.com.
This is Tech News Today, episode 1738, recorded Monday, April 3rd, 2017.
This episode of Tech News Today is brought to you by Tracker, a coin-sized tracking device that pairs with your smartphone and keeps you from losing your most valued possessions. Visit thetracker.com right now and enter promo code TNT to receive a free Tracker Bravo with any purchase.
And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, work with one that has your best interest in mind. Use Rocket Mortgage for a transparent, trustworthy home loan process that's completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT.
Hello and welcome to Tech News Today. This is the show where we tell you everything you need to know about technology that happened today or around today. I am Megan Maroney.
And I'm Jason Howell. I'm feeling kind of bad for you right now, Megan.
Why?
Because it's not the end of the day and it's not time to go to
bed. I know. I am feeling a bit under the weather. I've got a bit of a cold. Sorry to spread the germs far and wide.
It's okay. Yeah. I welcome the germs.
You do?
Yeah, just so that you know you have company.
Right.
It's important to have company when you're miserable.
It's good to test your system, to test your immune system. Just keep it on its toes, so to speak.
I know. As a parent, you'd think I'd be used to that, but anyways, we're always looking to get more immune to things, I suppose. So we'll test it now. In front of your very eyes. Who knows? In 40 minutes, I might be sneezing too. Apple is looking to take its destiny into its own hands by developing its own GPU for its mobile devices. Chip maker Imagination Technologies announced that Apple would cease to use its chip technologies sometime in the next 15 months to 2 years. Consequently, Imagination shares dove 70% after that announcement, which just goes to show the incredible power and influence that a collaboration and partnership with one of the biggest technology companies, if not the biggest technology companies in the world, will bring to your brand. So yeah, I mean, Apple has been kind of moving in this direction in other ways, right? Like they've been kind of moving into their own, creating their own processors. They have the AX chip for the iPhone, the SX for the watch. They've also worked on the W1 for AirPods, the T1 for MacBook Pro. So it just kind of seems like it's inevitable. The GPU is super important.
Yeah, I think this is really just about control for them as opposed to being about money. But it is about money for Imagination, sadly. I mean, they were getting money every time an iPhone was sold. Like, you know, they would get a royalty every time. And they won't anymore. And this is half of their Apple contributes to over half of their Imagination Technologies revenue.
Wow, that's incredible.
So, yeah.
So I mean, and when you think of GPU, you know, automatically you just jump to graphics processing because it's right there in the acronym, right? But the truth is the GPU, because it's such a kind of a super efficient way of processing data on devices when compared to a CPU. It's just a little more dynamic. It's really good at kind of multitasking all of these processes. So that makes it super useful for things that aren't just graphics, like artificial intelligence or machine learning. Machine learning is super demanding. And so, I mean, Apple bringing this kind of into their own walls, so to speak, I mean, it actually makes a lot of sense, especially when you kind of consider the direction of everything when you're talking about machine learning and all these other, you know, technologies that require so much, like VR, AR, you know, improved gaming power, gaming muscle behind the scenes. It's all tapping into the GPU because of its efficiency.
And it's interesting too that Apple didn't make this announcement. You know, they
I
didn't.
know. I thought that was interesting.
Imagination made this announcement, and basically their take on it was, we don't know how they're going to be able to do this without infringing on our intellectual property. So, you know, it sounds like they might, you know, be trying to sue Apple in the future or something. But I mean, they certainly did a good job of getting some press because I didn't know who they were before, and now I do.
Yeah, I mean, at the very least, they're going to be very aware and, analyze pretty stringently what Apple does come out with to see, if there are any of those lines crossed.
According to web analytics company StatCounter, Android is now the most popular operating system in the world. For the first time ever, Android accounted for more web usage than Windows in March 2017, knocking Microsoft off the OS pedestal they've been on since the 80s. It was close, though. Windows accounted for 37.91% of online use, while Android eked past at 37.93% of online users. So this is not desktop. This is just the online mobile. Windows still dominates PCs, both laptops and desktops, with 84%. But this is as in terms of global internet activity. And Android was ahead, and they were only at 2.4% just 5 years ago. So this is a big jump for them.
Well, but this does compare mobile to desktop, right? My understanding was that this is Android as an OS in general, surpassing Windows as an OS in general for web browsing access, which I think is indicative of just where we are now, even compared to 5 years ago, right? Like the desktop computer world, 10 years ago especially, like people were at much smaller numbers using laptop computers, let's say. But just that paradigm versus what we have now, where everybody is walking around with a computer in their pocket, like, it makes perfect sense. And I'm almost surprised that this didn't happen sooner than now, considering the insane market share that smartphones have, and especially Android, because of its kind of open platform.
Yeah, absolutely. I just meant that on a PC or a desktop, it's still 84%.
Got it.
But we're not using PCs or laptops as much as we're using our mobile phones.
I know, right? YouTube is making some changes to address the ongoing problem of on-screen ads being paired with objectionable videos. We talked about this the last couple of weeks. YouTube is rolling out 5 new exclusion filters, up from 2 prior to the update. Those include sexually suggestive, sensational and shocking, and profanity and rough language as markers for the content inside the videos to kind of inform how those ads appear. YouTube warns that it is fine-tuning its filtering system, and that YouTube creators could see a dip in revenue as a result of demonetization caused by the more aggressive filters by including those extra filters. They're still kind of trying to get the system right. YouTube had warned last week, and we talked a little bit about kind of YouTube's changes to try and address these issues. And they are armed with the ability to automatically demonetize a video if they deem it objectionable in one of these ways. And some creators are kind of getting swept up in that, whether it's always a slippery slope or kind of a difficult line to draw in the sand. But some of them are getting swept up into this, even though it doesn't seem like they should.
Yeah, YouTube has done a really good job, I think, of filtering out pornography and filtering out copyrighted material. I mean, if you think about the amount of videos, the sheer hours of video content that's being constantly uploaded, they're doing a really good job. And the algorithm does a very good job of not allowing pornography and copyrighted information. They're not so good with like more stuff that requires context.
Right.
So we're talking about the extreme stuff. So it's like a hip hop video that uses a racial epithet versus a skinhead using a racial epithet. It's like, as we were talking about this before the show, it's like some people don't understand, like, why is it okay for that guy to say that and it's not okay for me to say it? That's tough for some human beings to understand.
Let alone a robot.
An algorithm is going to have a hard time. And YouTube's approach to this is like they went on a sort of a press tour. They talked to Rico, they talked to Ad Age, and basically what if you read all these articles, they basically said, we are working very hard to solve this problem, but it's not really a problem at all. Yeah. So it's just confusing. I mean, they were quoted as saying, like, this is a very, very, very small problem. Like, that was the quote from what's his name, from Philip Schindler, who went around, he's like, this is a very, very, very small problem. Like, he really wants you to know it's a very, very small problem, and they're working very, very hard to fix this very, very small problem.
And that it's always been there in a little bit, but in a small sort of sense. But now that there is I don't know. You almost get the impression it didn't come out of his mouth, but now that there is almost an unfair spotlight being shown upon it, we feel like we have to do something a little bit more than we've been doing in the past. And I mean, you know, whether it's been there before and now it just has more attention on it or not. I mean, no matter how you slice it, nobody wants that. I'm pretty sure most advertisers would appreciate that YouTube is doing the work that they're doing, and you know, bravo for them to do that work as quickly as they have. But I think everybody's probably pretty happy that they're putting some extra thought into this, because the fact that it was happening at all, like, still proves that there's changes that need to be made. So good for that. I mean, I think the trick here is that YouTube caters to advertisers and also caters to its creators, and it's really important for YouTube to foster a good environment for those creators to continue making money. And you know, they built their livelihoods around the platform, and if some are being swept up inadvertently in these new filters, and they don't deserve to necessarily be there, that's a challenging position for YouTube to be in, because it applies a pressure on all ends. They might start losing money from the advertisers that refuse to go there, and they might start losing valuable content from some of the people that are making the platform the most, you know, the most money from those ads. So.
Amazon just figured out a way to accept cash. If you don't have a credit card or a bank card, you can now shop for stuff on Amazon with cash. Here's how it works. Go to Amazon.com, get yourself a barcode so that your spending can be properly tracked, just like the rest of us. Then all you have to do is go to a participating retailer like CVS or D&W Fresh Market or a few others, hand over your paper money, and then show them the barcode that you've gotten from Amazon, and the retailer will add cash to your account. Now, I'm not exactly sure how this is different than just going into a brick and mortar store and buying an Amazon gift card from the store and then using that, like, with cash, and then using that on Amazon. I guess you could get different denominations this way. Right now, it's between $15 and $500 per transaction, but there are no fees, and daily limits apply, and may be different by retailer. And they will be adding more retailers soon.
Yeah, like when I was reading through this, I was like, what is the problem exactly that's being solved here versus what they had already? But it turns out PayPal actually has an almost identical service to this called PayPal My Cash Card. And that's, again, same thing, loading a balance from supported retail locations, go in there with your cash, load it onto your PayPal account, almost like turning retail locations into a banking front end to a certain degree, when you think about it. Feels a little bit just like keeping up with the Joneses in that regard. But I was really disappointed to see that you couldn't just like insert a dollar bill into your computer and have it be turned into magical cloud cash.
That would be much better. It's true. Yeah. As terms of
the future,
the problem being solved is that, like, every single person in the whole wide world can't shop at Amazon. That I think is that's the problem.
Amazon's problem.
Yeah, that's the problem being solved. In terms of. I don't know. Amazon prices are not necessarily cheaper than, going into a store. There's a lot of, if you think about the environmental impact of all the shipping and everything. So it's not, I often shop at Amazon just for the convenience.
Right.
And so getting a barcode, going into a store to get, to give them cash is not what I would do. But
you have a credit card. I mean,
right.
You have a bank account. Not everybody, I guess, has that, and maybe that's a different scenario for them. But you make the valid point about their gift cards. Amazon gift cards are everywhere. You can buy those suckers anywhere. Feels like, anyways.
Yeah, I mean, I guess there are things on. Like, I guess my point is that there are things on Amazon that you couldn't walk into a store and buy. Like, you couldn't buy at CVS, or that you could buy cheaper. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, then we're both confused. Thanks, Amazon. That's really good. Google and a number of partners announced the creation of PAX, a cross-licensing patent initiative that will give its members free access to Android-centric patents. The 9 partners are bringing more than 230,000 patents to the table, and that number, they say, will expand as more partners get involved in this. Members include right now Google, Samsung Electronics, LG Electronics, Foxconn Technology Group, HMD Global, HTC, Coolpad, BQ, and Allview. And that's a pretty impressive starting point. Got to say, that's pretty good for, I don't know, keeping things clean, keeping the world of smartphone production and innovation, keeping it clean and not going to that dirty like patent wars place.
Is that what this is? Is it keeping it clean, or is it sort of keeping Google in control of it?
Well, that's a really good point. That's a great perspective. I mean, I think Google has fostered with Android a very open environment that it wants to bring in all these people, all these companies from all these different places to create. But what it's noticed, what I feel like I've seen and noticed over time, especially between 2010 and 2013, is that the patent war threat came along, and it really, I don't know, it just really muddied the waters and made it difficult for some partners to feel like they could innovate without, inadvertently stepping on someone's toes, or that there was the giant risk that they were ripping each other off and removing their competitive advantage. And I just read this and saw this as more being the kind of signal from Google that says, look, we're all working together. This is a friendly place to create devices. And if you're part of this, then your likelihood of being swept up in some sort of litigation around, your features and everything are a lot less likely to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I hope that's what it is. I mean, there's Google, it's Google, Samsung, LG, like all these big people. So, and there's no way to see the license agreement. Like It's confidential, so we don't really know what it says, like what you're agreeing to, what you're not agreeing to, because you have to become a member. They have to let you into the club in order to see it. So, yes, I hope that it does protect companies against patent trolls, but I hope it protects not just the big companies, but smaller innovators as well.
Yeah, I mean, I think what it does right off the top of it is it protects them from each other. You know what I mean? They're all in on the same game, and that removes a lot of. I mean, as you saw, Samsung, LG, Google. These are big names, HTC, that aren't going to necessarily call a war between each other because of these lines that have been overstepped. We're at a point right now where smartphones, they're all so similar, it's like they've all converged. Back in 2010, 2013, things were totally still developing. And so it became the kind of thing where this feature was used in two different places, and they were very, very, strict about, hey, how did you let that happen? That's not okay with us, because they're trying to innovate. And now, I don't know what it says about the state of smartphones, but everything's so blurred now that it's just a less of an issue. You haven't really heard a whole lot about patent wars in the past couple of years, thankfully, because I got sick of reading about them.
Well, after the break, find out who's currently in the lead in the driverless car race. But first, let's take a minute to thank Tracker, the sponsor of this episode. Okay, imagine this. You're in your living room. You're searching around. They're not on the couch. They're not in the cupboard. They're not on the table. You have a meeting in 20 minutes, and you know what you can't find? Your keys. We have all been there, but with Tracker, now you never have to worry about losing things again. The Tracker Bravo is a coin-sized device constructed with anodized aluminum for the thinnest, most durable tracking. You can locate those misplaced keys. You can find your wallet, that bag you've been missing, your computer. You can find it all in seconds. All you have to do is pair your tracker to your smartphone, attach it to any item, and find its precise location with a tap of a button. It's that easy. And then if you lose your phone, you can press the button on your tracker device, or now you can ask your Amazon Echo, and your phone will ring even when it's on silent. Your phone can track up to 10 devices at once. You can also customize two-way separation alerts so that you're notified before you leave your item behind. With over 4.5 million devices shipped, Tracker has the largest crowd GPS network in the world. Those things are everywhere, and they're going to help you find your stuff. Your lost item will show up on a map, even if it is miles away. The Tracker app records its last known location, and then when another tracker, one of those mini users, comes within a 100-foot range of your item, you'll get a GPS update of where your item is located. You also get a 30-day money-back guarantee, so there's no reason not to give it a try. We know you lose your stuff. Try this. This might be the solution for you to stop losing your stuff. Today, go to thetracker.com. Enter promo code TNT, and you'll get a free Tracker Bravo with any order. That's TheTracker.com. Promo code TNT for your free Tracker Bravo with any order. Tesla's market cap has surged beyond Ford's, but according to a new report from Navigant Research, Ford is still ahead when it comes to automated driving systems. Joining us to talk about this report is one of its authors, Sam Abu Al-Samid. Welcome back to the show, Sam.
It's great to be back again, Megan and Jason.
So the latest Navigant Research Leaderboard report on automated driving systems came out today. What is the biggest takeaway?
The big takeaway is that several of the big automakers are, at least according to the way we've done this ranking, are leading the race to commercialize autonomous vehicles or self-driving cars. And the reason why that is, what we did is we didn't just look at the technology, look at who's got necessarily the best technology, but we looked at a more comprehensive approach of which companies have a combination of technology, the ability to actually create, build vehicles, mass market vehicles, and actually bring them to market and support those vehicles. So, even though there's a lot of, little startups in Silicon Valley doing a lot of interesting things, and even companies like Waymo, the Google spinoff, that, arguably have the best technology overall, what they don't have is the ability to actually manufacture cars.
Yeah, I noticed that you pointed that out, that it's not always a matter of like writing an app, let's say, approaching it from the Silicon Valley perspective. The opposite could also kind of be true to a certain degree, right? Like legacy automotive companies need these advanced smarts in technology and thinking in that direction in order to head into this world, which I guess they just end up buying the companies if that's the case. Would that be right?
Yeah, that's absolutely true. They've bought between the automakers and some of the big suppliers like Delphi and Continental and Bosch, they've bought a lot of startups over the last several years, both in Silicon Valley and elsewhere, especially in Israel. There's a bunch of companies in Israel that have popped up in recent years doing some interesting things. And of course, Intel bought Mobileye a few weeks ago, another Israeli startup. But besides that, they've also been actively recruiting, and the manufacturers all have research centers in the Silicon Valley area, in Palo Alto and Mountain View and Santa Clara. So they all have a presence there, and they're working with a lot of these companies, either using them as suppliers, or they've invested in them, done venture investments in them or seed rounds in them, or in some cases like Cruise Automation, they've actually bought them outright. So there's, without what's going on in Silicon Valley, the traditional auto industry probably wouldn't be as far along as it is right now, because there's been a lot of really rapid advancements. But what Silicon Valley doesn't have is the ability to actually bring all this technology to market in a machine as complex as a vehicle.
Right. So tell us a little bit about the methodology of the report. How did you put it together?
So what we do in our leaderboard reports is, we'll pick a market segment, in this case, automated driving systems, and we'll pick the top companies in that segment. And we have, in this case, 10 different criteria that we scored the companies on based on strategy and execution. So everything from their technology to their production capabilities, sales, marketing, and distribution, their global reach, and a category we call staying power. How do they have the financial resources to actually do what it is they want to do? And we give each company a score in each one of these 10 categories, and then come up with an overall score. And Ford came out in front this time around. We last did this in late 2015. This time Ford moved up from 6th place to 1st overall, just barely ahead of GM, and then the Renault-Nissan Alliance and Daimler. And Waymo came in 6th overall. Waymo actually got the best score on technology, but because they don't have any manufacturing capability and they haven't set up any partnerships yet for manufacturing, that's where they lost some points there.
What about Uber? They're in 16th place. What about where do you see them in terms of staying power? And have all of the lawsuits that they've been involved in, or the other scandals we've heard about, was that taken into account in your report?
Yeah, that was taken into account. The fact that they consistently lose billions of dollars every year, is definitely a big black mark for them, especially in terms of staying power. But also, they have no manufacturing capability. They do have a partnership with Volvo to develop a car platform that they can integrate their driving system on, but they don't have any manufacturing capability of their own. And one of the issues with companies like Uber is, what they have is a software platform, with their ride-hailing system, but that's something that's actually fairly easy to replicate, as we've seen, during South by Southwest a few weeks ago. Even though Uber and Lyft don't operate in Austin, Texas, there was a bunch of other companies. They, may not have scaled to the degree they needed to support South by Southwest, but it's actually fairly easy to replicate, a lot of what Uber's done, and car makers are doing exactly that. So it's going to be a lot easier for the companies that have the manufacturing and design and development infrastructure to add on the software platform for the ride hailing than it will be for companies like Uber to go in the opposite direction. And Uber loses billions of dollars without actually spending any money on capital. If they want to build cars or buy cars, they're going to have to spend tens of billions of dollars a year to do that. And it's not clear that they ever have a path to profitability doing that.
One thing I realized when I was kind of reading the front page of the report with the kind of chart of the leaders, contenders, challengers, followers, is that there's so many players in this space right now. And you point out that autonomous vehicles and production of autonomous vehicles, like, it dates back into the 50s. It's not like they suddenly started in the last couple of years and, hey, look at us now. But I realize we talk about it a lot on the show, but that chart really kind of illustrates in a very visual sense just kind of what kind of production is happening. A few missing names from there, and I'm sure there are plenty more. But up and comers, new names into the field, like Faraday Future, the FF91, the Le C Pro, which I guess is that more kind of along the lines of the technology companies that are getting into the space? Is that why they didn't quite make it to the list?
Well, certainly in the case of LaCie, all we've seen is one concept car. We haven't actually seen any real product for them.
That's true.
Yeah. And Faraday, it's not entirely clear how much actual real capability they have yet. And you mentioned, we've got a fairly big group of companies already, and so we decided we wanted to focus on the companies that actually had the highest probability of at least some success in this marketplace. And we will be updating this report again probably in 2018, and depending on how things go for Faraday and for some other companies, we'll probably see some companies added to the group next time around, and we may well see some companies drop off. Like when we did this last time, we only looked at automakers, at OEMs, and several of the companies that we included that time, we dropped off the group this time because they weren't really doing anything in the autonomous space.
What about legal issues? Are some of these companies more likely to push through some of the regulations? Is that why they make it higher on the list, or are regulations just across the board going to be difficult or easy for everyone?
Well, overall, there actually isn't a whole lot in the way of regulations right now for autonomous vehicles, other than rules that say that there has to be a driver in the vehicle in many places. But aside from that, there isn't much specific to autonomous vehicles. So that's an area that's being discussed. But one thing that will be a problem from a legal perspective is liability for the performance of these systems. I mean, when we drive a car, if we make a mistake and get into a crash, the human driver is liable for that. We're responsible. You replace that human with a virtual driver, software driver, and if something happens, and it will, I mean, none of these systems are going to be perfect, especially in the early years. There's going to be issues that are going to have to be dealt with, and the manufacturers are the ones that are ultimately going to be liable for the performance of those systems. And that's why I think that the companies that have the deepest pockets, the best resources, are the ones that are most likely to succeed. And also, part of why we focused, part of our scoring this time was looking at companies that were actually developing the services to deploy these vehicles, because I think, especially in the early years, you're not going to be able to buy most of these vehicles. They will only be available through on-demand mobility services, through autonomous ride-hailing services. And so, the companies that are building out those services will have the best chance of success.
So what do you think about the Tesla exceeding the market cap of Ford? Was that a surprise to you?
The two words irrational exuberance come to mind whenever I hear of Tesla's market capitalization. It's crazy. They sold an average of 8,400 cars a month total over the last 3 months. Ford sold almost 10,000 Mustangs alone last month. And 65 or 70,000 F-150s. Their numbers are still minuscule. And yes, they were up a little bit over last year, but not by a whole lot. And the toughest part of what they have to do is yet to come, because they still have to produce the Model 3.
Very true. Well, Sam, thank you so much for joining us. You can find the full report at navigantresearch.com. And Sam, of course, hosts the Wheel Bearings podcast. You should definitely just subscribe to that. Thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you, Sam.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure as always.
I appreciate it. Radio Rod, who is in chat, by the way. I saw him poking around in chat. Radio Rod wrote in with a possible solution for fixing Samsung's biometric problem. Remember last week we reported that you could trick their face unlock feature with a photo. Rod writes, facial recognition could be improved to reject a photo if manufacturers would use an infrared-enabled imaging sensor. A photo would only have the room temperature. A real person would have a temperature of 98.6 degrees Fahrenheit, give or take 5 degrees Fahrenheit or so. My old iPhone 3G can see things I cannot. I can't see the infrared TV remote control lighting up, but that old phone can. If you have an old phone like that, point a remote at the camera and watch that thing light up on the phone's monitor. Yeah, it's another very creative way to do something like this. Something to determine that you're not just looking at a flat screen or a flat piece of paper. Would certainly help. Coming up, we now know, maybe you already do, but we're going to tell you what Verizon plans to call its new Yahoo AOL sandwich, or whatever that is they're working on. But first, let's take a minute to thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. They're the sponsor of this episode. We're so used to doing everything online, all the things, yet when you go to do a traditional mortgage, a lot of times you're doing it on paper, you're doing it very manual, pulling all of your information from a million different places, and we live our lives online. So, hey, why can't we get a mortgage online through the web? When it comes to the big decision of choosing a mortgage lender, you want to work with someone who you can trust, who has your best interest in mind, and who can kind of provide this to you in a more digital online way. And with Rocket Mortgage, you're going to get a transparent online process that gives you the confidence to make an informed decision. So don't waste time searching through stacks of paperwork or managing it in the more analog sense. With Rocket Mortgage, you can securely share your financial information to get a mortgage approval in minutes. You can even adjust the rate and the length of your loan, play around with the numbers in real time so you can make sure to get the mortgage solution that's right for you. Whether you're looking to buy a home or refinance your existing mortgage, you can actually lift the burden of getting a home loan with Rocket Mortgage. So skip the bank, skip the waiting, and go completely online at quickenloans.com/TNT. That's quickenloans.com/TNT. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLSconsumeraccess.org, number 3030. And we thank Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans for their support.
TNT's fan of the day is Soren Madsen on Twitter, who sent us another tweet of a tasty dish made while watching or listening to TNT. Today it's crispy risotto balls. That looks delicious.
That does look really good.
I don't know what the green things are, but they look good. Unless they're peas. I hate peas.
Maybe peas or maybe a little chopped asparagus.
Chopped asparagus would be good.
Okay.
Show us how you watch or listen to TNT while cooking or eating or doing whatever you're doing. Record a video or take a picture of yourself or your setup. Post it to Instagram, Google+, Twitter, or Facebook. Use the hashtag HowIWatchTNT, and we're going to find it. Keep sending them in. We need them. We need them.
Yeah, thank you for that. If you were wondering what Yahoo would be called once Verizon merges the company with AOL, your dreams are about to be rewarded, and you shan't be disappointed. After leaking earlier today, AOL CEO Tim Armstrong tweeted out that the new name will in fact be Oath. Oath. With the tagline of hashtag Take the Oath. And don't confuse it when you look at it. Don't confuse it with OAuth, the open standard for token-based authentication on the internet. No, this is Oath. And I'm still incredibly confused by what that actually means.
Yahoo AOL Sandwich would have been such a better name. Yahoo AOL Sandwich. That's what I'm going to call it from now on.
All right, cool. Done.
I think
Dunzo.
all the names are gone.
Yeah,
all the good names are gone. The only things left is like vaguely threatening. Like Oath to me is just like, are you going to take the oath? It's like you're going to cut your finger and like the blood oath or something. Burke Chat.
I think Burke is opting for oof.
Oh.
Oof. I think that's pretty applicable, actually, Burke.
Yeah.
I mean, they went Altaba with the kind of the sandwich theory with Altaba. So why couldn't they have done that again?
Yeah.
So we have a question for the day. We haven't done this in a while. I put it on my Twitter feed. Just find me at Jason Howell. Which is the better Yahoo-related name? Is it Oath or Altaba? And I didn't give you a third choice of none of the above because you have to be forced to vote for one.
No, I just
your
didn't
life
vote.
Depended on it.
I just didn't vote. I chose not to vote because I didn't want either of those.
So the vote numbers are going to be low because of that very reason. But seriously, if you had to choose one.
Yugle.
Gahoo. No. Yeah, I don't know.
Yugle makes no sense at all.
Oh, it's okay. Like, they don't need to make sense. Trunk. What did trunk mean?
Trunk sounds like oath, like vaguely threatening.
Yeah. You don't want to upset Trunk.
No.
He'll oath you. Awful.
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 It's an awful name. Awful.
It's so awful. All right. Well, let us know what name you think it could have been, and maybe we'll talk about it tomorrow. TNT records awful. TNT records live every Monday through Friday at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern, 2300 UTC at twit.tv/live. You can be part of the show by emailing us at tnt@twit.tv. Leave us a short voicemail at 260-TNT-SHOW, and find us on Twitter. We're at Tech News Today TV.
And you're going to want to subscribe to the show. You know you are. Go to twit.tv/TNT. Find all the ways to subscribe. And if you want to tweet at me, I'm at Megan Maroney.
And I'm at Jason Howell on Twitter. Thanks to our technical director, Brian Burnett, of course. Oh, is this? Oh, yes.
That was my Snapchat from earlier.
From earlier, actually. What a weird filter.
That's what you really look like.
That's what I look like? It's a filter that shows you what everyone else sees you like. Thanks to Brian. Thanks to Burke for helping out in the studio. And then thanks to Brian again, because Brian's editing today. Not Kevin.
So many thanks.
Yeah. And thanks to you for talking tech with us today. I will see you tomorrow. Megan probably will not. Get some rest, Megan.
Should
I do this?
No, you shouldn't. Don't do it. Don't do it.
I'd have done it for the team. I would have gone there.
So
and then
sweet.
Ran out.
Don't do it. Don't do it.